So in the end, it's really not about talent. It's about watching someone who thought they were above it all finally get humbled. And as far as Hollywood drama goes, this is the sort that not a lot of people can look away from.
Rachel Zegler just got sued after her Eva scandal. Like, seriously, who leaves mid-P performance and expects applause?
Rachel Zegler makes a sudden exit from the stage during Evita.
Fans are so furious they want their money back in cash and apologies. And honestly, most people still don't even know who she is, or how she absolutely destroyed Disney's most beloved classic, Snow White.
You can't talk about woke Snow White film exhaustingly awful and then say, "Take that, you haters." But now she is hoping that the luminous Evita can eradicate the debacle that surrounded her recent Snow White in Disney's calamitous woke remake.
The same Rachel who landed West Side Story at just 17, snagged a Golden Globe, and got crowned Hollywood's next big thing. That girl, the one Disney looked at and said, "Yep, let's throw $270 million at her for Snow White because what could possibly go wrong?" Oh, I don't know. Everything.
About the very first actress in history to become box office poison before she ever came box office. You know what I'm talking about?
Before the movie even hit theaters, she was already radioactive. We're talking box office poison levels. You know how bad it has to be for a film to drown before it even premieres. Snow White was supposed to be this bold feminist reboot, but instead it got two 2 million dislikes, global boycott petitions, and backlash from people who hadn't even watched it and didn't need it because Rachel was out here treating a fairy tale like her personal therapy session. And when it all went nuclear, Disney tried to sweep it under the rug like, what movie? Snow who?
And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part.
Even Walt Disney's own quote came back to haunt them. Never remake Snow White. Yeah, that one started trending. And this is before we even get to the Evita mess. Because if you thought her Snow White crash was bad, wait till you hear about the hot pants, the balcony stunt, and the full-blown meltdown in London.
An eyewitness tells E! News that around 15 minutes into the interval, it was announced that her understudy, Bella Brown, would be stepping in to finish the show.
So Rachel gets a second chance. New country, new audience, new role. Time to redeem herself. Right? Wrong. Her Evita debut turned into a parody of itself. You know, the iconic number, "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina." She didn't even sing it for the audience that paid actual money. Nope. She marched her glitter-covered self outside the theater and sang it on the balcony for free. Imagine paying premium theater prices just to watch Rachel Zegler's face in 720p with street noise and echo.
Ella later said on her Instagram stories after the show, "Today really showed just how important swings and covers are within this industry. They are the pillars of a show. A proud day to be at Evita." Rachel is currently scheduled to return for the July 25th evening performance of the show.
And this wasn't a one-off. Tickets started being sold online for literal zero. Nat Ada, because demand plummeted so fast, even desperate promoters couldn't justify charging money anymore. Whole rows sat empty, and still they tried to play it off like a theatrical innovation. Please. People weren't clapping because they were amazed. They were clapping because it was finally over.
You had paying customers were waiting to see her on stage, and she took off and headed to a balcony where she could belt out Evita's hit song, "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina," live for free.
And then came the cherry on top. The viral clip of Rachel crying on stage after a standing ovation. Like, girl, please. That wasn't emotion. That was a PR performance. The mascara may have been waterproof, but the desperation was not. Critics didn't buy it. Audiences didn't buy it. The only thing people bought was refund insurance.
White Latina. I hold a lot of privilege. It falls on my shoulders to open up the doors for the people who, or they're disenfranchised.
Now, let's rewind a bit to the burning dumpster fire that was Snow White. This disaster cost Disney $270 million to make, plus another $140 million in marketing. That's over $410 million pumped into a single film. You'd think with that kind of cash they could at least get people in the theater, but nope. Opening weekend, just $43 million domestic. That's not a flop. That's a financial faceplant.
I'm a narcissist.
In China, which is usually Disney's golden goose, it pulled less than $1 million. You heard that right. Less than $1 million in the world's second biggest box office market. People spend more on popcorn than what Snow White made over there. By week 2, it dropped 66%. 606%. This wasn't just a bad movie. It was a cinematic ghost town. Theaters started yanking it from prime time slots, shoving it into awkward 11 a.m. weekday showings like it was a community college film project. Some theaters just pulled it completely. No fanfare, no warning, just gone. And here's the kicker. Disney insiders apparently blamed Rachel. Not the writers, not the marketing team, not the ones who approved CGI dwarf that looked like melted wax figures. Nope, Rachel. She was the face of the campaign, and they decided she'd be the face of the failure, too. PR poison. They called her. Honestly, not inaccurate, because when Rachel speaks, it's like a PR team's worst nightmare. She went on this press tour and just detonated. You know the original Prince? She called him a stalker. The movie weird. The plot not about love anymore. She basically stood on a soapbox and said, forget charm, kindness, or romance. Snow White's a girl boss dictator now. Like, excuse me.
Original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
Then came the Blizzard comment. Apparently, Snow White isn't about pale skin anymore. It's because she survived the blizzard. Yes, that's where we are now. Just rewrite the entire legacy while we're at it. Let's call Cinderella Dish Girl because she once washed a plate. Makes sense. And those interviews with Galadoo. Yikes. Talk about zero chemistry. You know, the ones where two co-workers sit next to each other awkwardly while pretending to be friends? That every interview was like watching two people who would rather be anywhere else doing anything else with anyone else.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
Even Bill Maher and Candace Owens, two people who don't agree on the color of the sky, both said Rachel was the worst casting decision in Hollywood history. Let that sink in. She united two polar opposites just by being catastrophically bad at her job. That's a skill set no acting coach can teach. And what's wild is she wasn't even trying to be subtle. She was on a mission to burn the whole fairy tale world down. Every quote, every promo, every smug red carpet smirk was a slap in the face to the fans who grew up loving the original. And when people pushed back, she didn't apologize. She doubled down. She called love outdated. She mocked fairy tales. She literally hijacked a childhood classic and rebranded it as a feminist lecture. That's not empowerment. That's narcissism. That's a 23-year-old who thought a Disney princess gig meant she was suddenly Mother Teresa with an IMDb page.
People will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie, right. Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
And here's a brutal truth. Nobody wanted this version of Snow White. Nobody wanted a TikTok activist in a tiara. They wanted magic. They wanted nostalgia. They wanted something charming, not condescending. But Rachel gave them lectures, side eyes, and a 2-hour identity crisis in a ball gown. Rachel's glare-treating interviews like TED Talks nobody asked for. Oh, classic Rachel. She took every camera, every MIC, every press opportunity and transformed it into a lecture about the patriarchy, womanhood, and why fairy tales are apparently oppressive now. Snow White, just a tool to rant about everything wrong with the world. According to her,
it's a wholesome family film, and now they've turned it into woke trash. Check this out from Men Wokeness. Disney's Snow White said that harm should befall Trump and his voters. Do not see this film.
She wasn't promoting a movie. She was holding court. Every clip was like being force-fed a women's studies essay while trying to eat popcorn. And no, nobody asked for that. We wanted magic. She gave us a manifesto. She couldn't stop at slamming the story. No, she had to slam the fans. 2. At Disneyland, a literal temple for Disney lovers, she said she has to pretend to love the fans who stop her for pictures. Pretend. Like they're parasites begging for her approval. Not the exact people keeping her career on life support. Imagine having the audacity to play a Disney princess and openly admit you fake being nice to kids. What's next?
Anyway, we know that our girl Rachel likes to yap, so if she's going out of her way to basically escape talking to the media about the film that she's starring in, then I think we can reasonably assume that some things are going on behind the scenes.
Then came the tweet that practically detonated a career in real time. In the middle of the Snow White promo tour, Rachel, brilliant PR queen that she is, tweets, "Free Palestine." Now, yes, people are allowed opinions, but maybe, just maybe, don't drop a political grenade when your co-star Galadoo is Israeli during a Disney rollout for a family movie. You'd think common sense would have stopped her, but apparently that took the week off.
That is
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
What followed was chaos. Gal started getting death threats. Disney had to assign Rachel a literal social media handler like a babysitter. A full-grown adult was so bad at tweeting the studio had to bring in someone to supervise her internet time. And it still didn't help because at that point the internet was already frothing. Not my snow. White trended worldwide. Millions of views, memes, and rose compilations popped up faster than Rachel could hit send tweet. She wasn't just disliked. She became the main character of every online disaster thread for weeks.
To stand there 18 hours in a dress, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And if she's getting paid by the hour watched, you can understand why she's happy with these figures.
And if you thought the internet was done with her, oh no, because then came the dwarf drama. The dwarf disaster TM as it should forever be known. Originally, Disney was actually going to cast real actors with dwarfism, actual humans. But then Peter Dinklage riding the high horse only an Emmy shelf at large can provide decides that casting dwarfs in Snow White is regressive. One rant, one podcast. That's all it took for Disney to completely reverse course.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again.
Suddenly, out went the actual actors. And in came the blobs. Glowing, soulless, barely rendered CGI creatures that looked like knockoff Pixar gremlins. Dwarfs who looked like they were animated in 2007 on a school laptop. And Rachel, she clapped like it was some milestone of progress. "We're moving past stereotypes," she said. "Oh, really? You mean by replacing actual jobs for marginalized actors with digital cartoons?"
And they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Both progressives and conservatives lost their minds. And for once they had a reason to agree. Real actors who were set to play the dwarfs publicly called it out. One of them said it straight. Peter's rich, we're not, and there's Rachel smiling through it all like she just cured cancer. Critics nailed it perfectly. It was like she burned someone's house down and congratulated herself for reducing emissions. Peak Rachel. But the internet wasn't done feasting yet. Oh no, Because after the interviews, the tweets, the dwarfs, came the memes. And when the internet turns on you, it's biblical. Reddit threads compared her eyes to continents drifting apart, so they'd need passports to meet. She was turned into every cartoon villain you can imagine. Lord Farquaad, check. Edna Mode, check. Willy Wonka, Diary of a Wimpy Kid's Creepy Cousin. Oh, definitely.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Twitter wasn't just roasting her. It was hosting full-blown Zegler bonfire nights. The nickname Lori Farquaad caught on like wildfire. People didn't even refer to her as Rachel anymore. And the best part, these weren't some fringe online trolls. These were ordinary users, former fans, even people who didn't watch the movie, all united in the belief that she had no business being near a Disney film.
Like, don't get me wrong, I know that there are some people, or probably many people, who've worked really hard on this movie, but I do love watching Disney collapse in on itself.
And why? Because theaters were empty. Audiences were so non-existent that TikTok showed entire Snow White screenings with just 3 to 8 people. Whole cinemas looked like employee training exercises. Even the staff started mocking the film on social media. Imagine being roasted by the minimum wage teenager running the projector. Brutal. Even Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly, 2 people who wouldn't agree on water temperature, found common ground just to trash Rachel's glare. She somehow achieved what no politician could. Bipartisan rage. You really got to be historically bad to make the far left and far right high five over your downfall.
Now, the interesting thing is this next sentence. After being cast as Disney's princess, Zegler had to enjoy hateful racist attacks on social media about her Colombian heritage. And this is a remarkably similar sentence to this. Almost word for word. When you put them back to back, it is very bizarre.
And as if all that wasn't enough, she still couldn't stop. He avid a script drama. Rumors started swirling that Rachel was trying to modernize the script because of course she was. Why honor the legacy of Evita when you can shove in your personal TikTok politics and call it art? Critics were livid. They said she was trying to inject political correctness into a classic, and not subtly either. She turned Evita into a twerking, glitter-covered rebel. Audiences came expecting power and grace. What they got looked more like a pride float at Coachella. The message was gone. The nuance was gone. All that was left was Rachel playing dress-up.
Snow White, the film that bombed so hard that it only brought in $50 a screen over Mother's Day weekend, is now somehow the #1 streaming hit on Disney+. And before you ask, you're going to say, how did this happen?
Even though the rewrite rumors weren't officially confirmed, no one batted an eye. That's how low her credibility had dropped. She didn't just lose the benefit of the doubt. She had it revoked, shredded, and thrown into the Thames. People believed it because it sounded like something she would do. And that honestly is the worst PR diagnosis imaginable. And finally, the tears. Of course, there were tears. She cried during ovations again. Social media didn't even flinch. Sympathy bait, they said. Another PR stunt. And honestly, can you blame them? When every apology is followed by another self-inflicted scandal, the mascara just looks like a prop.
Hey, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
At this point, Rachel Zegler isn't just controversial. She's straight up radioactive. That's not a joke. That's the actual word industry insiders use to describe her. Radioactive. You know how badly you have to mess up for Hollywood, a place where scandals are Tuesday, to start treating you like a biological hazard. Casting directors were allegedly saying they were done with the circus. Translation: if your name's on the sheet, they're out. This wasn't a PR stumble. This was a full-blown nuclear meltdown, and she was patient zero.
headline after headline demonstrating the horrible reputation that she has made for herself because she just can't seem to keep her own thoughts in her brain.
But here's where it really gets embarrassing. Layoffs, not hers. The marketing department's tied to Snow White. Entire teams got axed or reshuffled. And the message from up top was brutal. Executives literally told their own staff, never use her in promos again. Not wait it out. Not dial it back. No, just never. Her face had become so toxic that even referencing her was considered brand suicide.
Terrible and a little bit hilarious. You know what I mean. What I have found to be exceptionally funny in the lead up to this film is how Disney has seemingly gone out of its way to stop its lead actress, Rachel Zegler, from talking to basically any media.
Project she was linked to suddenly went under review. In other words, straight to the trash bin. Her name was quietly removed from studio discussions, Zoom calls, pitch decks, all erased like she was never there. And no one even had to make a dramatic announcement about it. She did it to herself. No blacklist necessary. Rachel turned every press junket into a self-destruction master ass. She sat down for 5 minutes and somehow insulted the fans, the character, the studio, and her co-stars. That's talent. Just not the kind that gets you hired.
An iconic song, yes, but it's the balcony grabbing all the attention.
And because Rachel can't help herself, she managed to set a historic low. She became known widely, repeatedly, and rightfully as the first actress to bomb a movie before it even premiered. Not after, before. Think about how astronomically bad that is. The film didn't flop because it was a flop. It flopped because people refused to even give it a chance the moment they saw her name attached to it. Legendary. Then came the emotional roller coaster. Enter Rachel's personal PR pivot, the crying tour. Suddenly, she was everywhere talking about her mental health. Panic attacks, daily crying spells. She even said she considered plastic surgery just so people would stop calling her ugly online. Yes, plastic surgery. Because Twitter trolls hurt her feelings. And hey, mental health is real, but the timing impeccable. Almost too perfect.
She's very good at alienating not only her viewers, but just viewers in general with everything that she says and every social media post she makes.
She claimed she couldn't post a single picture without getting flooded with comments calling her ugly. And sure, the internet can be ruthless, but let's not forget this is the same internet she taunted, mocked, and dismissed for months. When the backlash came, she acted shocked. I cry every day. I just want it all to stop, she said. But here's the issue. She said that before, multiple times, and always after setting another dumpster on fire, audiences didn't slowly drift away. They ran. Because no one goes to a Disney movie to get a lecture about social power dynamics. They go to escape. They go to believe in magic. Rachel turned a beloved childhood fantasy into a one-woman show about modern oppression and her own personal grudge against fairy tale romance.
And things are already shaping up to be a bit of a poop show? I don't like that.
Apologies. Yeah, she tried those, but they were about as convincing as her box office numbers. Every apology sounded like it was written by a PR intern trying to meet a word count. Empty buzzwords, recycled phrases, the exact tone of someone who's sorry you offended. Not that she actually said it. And it didn't matter what side of the political aisle you're on. Even liberal media outlets eventually gave up defending her. That's when you know the downfall isn't ideological. It's personal. It's universal. And then we arrive at her grand finale. The last terror, the final curtain call. Rachel Zegler, who once stood the doorstep of superstardom, now spends her time crying on stage at Evita while Twitter eviscerates her mascara and monologues. The balcony stunt disaster. The fake tears transparent.
About the very first actress in history to become box office poison before she ever came box office. You know what I'm talking about.
From the moment she decided to sing Don't Cry for Me Argentina outside the theater, where people on the street got better views than paying guests, to the moment she turned Eva Peron into a glitter-sprinkled Gen Z power mascot. She scorched every opportunity given to her. This wasn't a stumble. It was a full-speed cannonball into career oblivion. Now she's labeled as box office poison, a reputation so lethal that even the most desperate B-list projects wouldn't touch her. She's not just risky, she's a liability. You cast her, you inherit the drama, the backlash, and the 48-hour Twitter tirade that follows. Studios don't want to explain your lead's last viral quote. They want someone who can smile, say thanks, and not drag the entire project through the mud in every interview. The audience completely over it. No trust, no hype, no interest. You could slap her face on a Pixar movie and people would still wait for streaming. And her only shot at revival, stay silent, vanish, rebrand, let Hollywood forget, which, let's be real, won't happen. Rachel's glare, stay quiet. That's fantasy. She'll tweet again. She'll rant again. And the whole cycle will start over. Because in the end, she didn't just kill the fairy tale. She buried her career right beside it, handed the audience the shovel, and live-streamed the funeral in 4K. She ruined Snow White, bombed Diva, and now she's getting sued. Hit that subscribe button if you're done with the Rachel's Glare circus.